Builds and loadouts seem like they're going to be a pretty big thing for Anthem, and we got a good glimpse of that this week. From the livestream going over progression and loot, we got to see Darren's Death from Above build on his Ranger going over some Masterwork components, weapons and abilities and how they all synergize together. Today we're going to go over that and how it exactly works, but treat this as a almost experiment and demo for future content when the game comes out, because I do want to do a lot of this when it happens. We'll be talking about how the build works, but also talking about the pros and cons of this build and where you do want to be running it and where you should really leave it to the wayside. My name is Ryan Central, and if you want to see more Anthem related content like this, especially the guides and the builds as we get into launch, then do let me know and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Two main things to go over first, however. The first is that you need to understand how Masterwork rarities work. We did a video going over components, rarities, and if you don't know anything about either of those things, then do check the video in the top right of your screen. Masterwork is the rarity above Epic, and whilst it comes with much stronger stats, gear level, abilities and more inscriptions, it also comes with specific perks on that gear. So because this is a predominant Masterwork build, there's a lot of specific perks and stats that synergize really well that you can't get on any gear level below it. So you can't get it on Epic, you can't get it on Uncommon, you can only get it in Masterwork and Legendary. Legendary is fairly similar to Masterwork, but just a little bit stronger and much more rare, as you can imagine. The second thing is that aspects of this build do not work as Darren's playing it. For example, a lot of the focus on this build is to do with hovering, and Darren has a specific build that allows him to hover for quite a long time, but those perks, talents, inscriptions don't seem to be working, so he has a fairly default hovering time, which takes a lot of the ability out of this build, hence why it looks a bit lackluster in a lot of cases, because he just can't hover for that long. That goes nicely onto the first set of abilities and specific Masterwork perks that make this build really shine. The first, of course, is Death from Above, which is the Masterwork marksman rifle that Darren is running. As I said, there's specific perks that happen on these Masterwork abilities, and in this case, whilst you're hovering, it increases weak point damage by 65%. This would include headshots and hitting specific areas of certain strong enemies, such as an open area in their armor, canisters on their back that'll make them explode, those kind of areas. Wherever the enemy is weak, you will do more damage to it whilst you're hovering and also using this weapon. Also, just to add on to that, the inscriptions don't work too, but you can also see that this weapon has increased drop chance on its inscription, and also you have some spare ammo too, meaning that you should be able to get a lot of bang for your buck here. The second perk based around hovering is the Airborne Advantage component. As I said, don't know what a component is, watch the video in the top right, you really need to know what that is before we get into it. And this increases the gear recharge rate by 50% of your abilities, meaning that your abilities recharge twice as fast if you're hovering in the air. You can see this on screen as an example. Grenade gets thrown out, it's on about a 12-second cooldown. As soon as Darren jumps into the air and starts hovering, it goes down to 6. So a really strong piece of gear when you combine these two things together. You can also see the perks on the left hand side of your screen, and that is really important to note for the rest of this video, as I'll keep pointing out when these abilities and perks are procced. Now we get to go over a nice weapon rotation, because all of these other components and weapons perfectly synergize that you can cycle these abilities and do a crap load of damage. We start with Combined Arms, which when you use your secondary ability, which in this case is the Blast Missile, and you get a kill with it, it increases the damage of your grenade ability by 50% for 3 seconds. So when Darren kills people with his Blast Missile, which we'll get into more detail with in a second, you can see that the perk shows up on the left hand side of his screen, which in that time his grenade will do 50% more damage for 3 seconds. And again, if you're noting inscriptions, it also increases the ultimate regeneration overall, which is important to note as we get onto ultimate regeneration in a second. Now we go over grenade multi-kills, as there's 2 perks here that work when you get them. The grenade ability that you have is Last Argument, which is an upgraded version of the frag grenade. And because it's a Masterwork item, it also has a perk, which is on a small multi-kill of 2+ people, it adds 10% to the ultimate bar. One big aspect of this build too is that you can get your ultimate very quickly, and again, we'll go over that in a second, see how it all strings together. But Darren did also say, much like the hovering, the ultimate regeneration was also bugged, so it wasn't happening as fast as it would have done if everything was working to a T. But there's also a defensive component that works with multi-kills called Defensive Bulwark. If you get a multi-kill of 3+ people with your grenade, you instantly restore 100% of your shields. And these abilities stack, so if you get a multi-kill of 3+, not only do you instantly restore your shields, but you also get ultimate charge too at the same time. So the general rotation for this would be that you hover, of course, for your 50% recharge rate and weak point damage, you get a kill with your Blast Missile, and that increases the damage of your grenade by 50%. You use your grenade, get a multi-kill of 3 people, and first of all you get 10% of your ultimate charge, and also instantly restore your shields. And you'd basically keep recycling this over and over until you got your ultimate. But that's not all, there's another component that affects your ultimate. This is called Tip of the Spear, and when you use your ultimate, your gear damage increases by 50% for 6 seconds. And again, this stacks. So if you have your ultimate, you use your ultimate to proc Tip of the Spear, which increases all gear damage by 50%. Then, with your blast missile, you get a kill with that 50% extra damage, and that increases your grenade damage again by 50%. And as I said, it stacks, so that's 100% extra damage with your grenade if you use this rotation. So you then use your grenade for 100% added damage, and if you get multi-kills, you get 10% of your ultimate instantly generated and also restore your shields. And it's worth adding that your recharge rate will be so low because you're hovering, you'll be able to cycle these abilities over and over. You use your blast missile, you get that extra damage on your grenade, you use your grenade, you use your blast missile again, it goes on and on and on. You've got, of course, the assault launcher gear piece, which is Argo's mace, which is that Masterwork blast missile that we've been talking about. When you defeat an enemy, it detonates an electric explosion, which has an AoE effect, which means that you're just effectively doing more damage. Say you've got a group of enemies, you use Argo's mace, which is your blast missile, you get a kill, it detonates an electric explosion, which affects all the enemies around it, that increases your grenade damage, you throw at the enemies too, get multi-kills, you get more of your ultimate, you use your ultimate, you get 50% more damage, you rotate, you can see how devastating this can be. You also have some epic components which aren't as good as the Masterwork ones, but again it increases your assault launcher damage by 5%, that's assault augment, then grenadier inscription, which also increases your recharge rate on your grenades by a certain percent. So even though these aren't really integral to the build, they mean that you get your grenade a lot faster and your assault launcher does more damage. So just to quickly recap, let's go over what the rotations would be. So you want to be hovering in the air for the 50% recharge rate on abilities and also the weak point damage. You want to be getting a kill with blast missile, which because of Argo's mace creates an electric field that does damage to enemies nearby. And also with combined arms, it increases the grenade damage by 50% for 3 seconds. You then instantly want to be using your grenade for the 50% added damage, aiming for multi-kills, because if you get 2 players, you get 10% of your ult instantly, and also if you get 3 players, you instantly recharge your shields. And you basically cycle this over and over until you have ultimate. Then again, when you have ultimate, you want to be hovering, you use the ultimate to proc Tip of the Spear, which increases all your gear damage by 50%. You then use your blast missile again, 50% extra damage, get a kill with it, it causes the electric explosion from Argo's mace yet again, and because of combined arms, increases your grenade damage by 50%, which then stacks with your previous 50% damage, meaning that your grenade does 100% extra damage. You then use that, and as I said, you get 10% of your ult charge if you get 2 kills, you get your shields back if you use 3. You use this over and over again until you've killed everything. Now quickly to go over where is it good, where is it bad? Well, it's of course very good if you have a lot of enemies that you need to kill, you're going up against a big group of scars, and you want to constantly chain together these multi-kills and aim for groups of players that stand very close to one another. Where it isn't very good is against big burly targets such as a Titan, an Ursik, any big boss kind of player, because you won't be able to get that extra 50% grenade damage because you're not going to get the kills with a blast missile. So ideally you want to be running something that's just based on damage done instead of trying to get eliminations, because if you don't get those picks and you don't get those kills, you can't proc anything. So as soon as you run into targets that aren't going to die in one hit, then you're going to start running into problems. But this is great for going out in the world, doing open missions, public events, being able to kill stuff very quickly, and to be able to string procs and synergies across the board. So yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff there to go over. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do let me know in the comments below if you preferred it, if you have any feedback, if it was too complicated. If I didn't go over stuff in any more detail, do let me know in the comments below. But if you want to see more of this kind of video, do like it, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.